Sorry guys, I ran out of memory space. I mean, I ran out of space in my memory card. Okay. Yeah, so what I was saying is that after the angels went in, after I saw that the Lord came and helped, sent the angels and helped that resident, I was so relieved, you know. So then I got into the elevator and I went on to do the rest of the volunteer Meals on Wheels, and I just remembered that I am not telling you guys encounters with angels. I'm telling you experiences with angels. Sorry guys, I meant to tell you about personal encounters, not experiences with angels. Okay, so anyway, I said what I said. That was an experience with angels, and now I'm going to tell you about encounters with angels, personal encounters. So one time, when was this? Okay, the experience with the resident and the angels, that was 4 years ago, and in 2017, I think 2017, I was at home and I was just sitting there in my room, and I don't know why I was upset about something. And I don't know what it was, and I don't remember, but I was really upset about something. And so then, yeah, I was just sitting there in my room. Then all of a sudden, an angel walked into my room. Like they'll come in through any way, guys. Sometimes they come in through the ceiling. Sometimes they'll come in through the wall or the window or something like that. But this time, this angel came in through my door. So I'm sitting there in my room, and then this angel comes in, and I was just annoyed. I did not want to deal with anybody, even if it was an angel. So then he came over to me and stood in front of me, and I looked up at him, and he started smiling at me. Well, he came in smiling anyway. He was already smiling. So I looked up at him, and he was smiling at me. And I was talking to God in my head. I'm like, Father, why is he here? What does he want? I'm not in the mood. And then God said, he wants to play. And I'm like, he wants to play, but I'm upset. I don't want to play. I'm really not in the mood. And I said, Lord, I don't want to play. So after I said this to the Lord, the angel turned around and started heading back to the exit, to my door to leave. And guys, I felt so bad. So then I said, Father, where's he going? Where's he going? And then God said, he's going. You don't want to play. And I said, no. Tell him to come back. I'll play with him. Tell him to come back. And then when I said this to the Lord, the angel stopped, and he turned around, and he came right back into my room, and he stood in front of me again, and he looked down at me, and I looked up at him, and he was still smiling very affectionately, very like angels adore us, guys. They really love us. Okay, they love us. They smile at you with an adoration. They really care. Your life means a lot to them. That's how they look at you. That's how they relate to you. Okay, so so I'm looking at, hold on, I'm gonna have to close the door because somebody has the TV on really loud and I can hear it. Hold on. Okay, so yeah, so then I was looking up at the angel. He was smiling at me, and I was smiling at him, and I said, now I was talking to him like verbally. I said, okay, angel, you want to play? Okay, we're going to play. So guys, I stood up. I raised my hand into the, like not my hands, but my arms straight up into the air, like my arms straight up towards the sky. And then I started I ran out of my room, and I started yelling, going, yay! Like going, yay! And I ran all the way out of my room, and the angel did the same thing. He raised his hand, like he was behind me. He raised his arms, and he started going, yay! Like he was yelling. He was like doing what I was doing. And I was running out, leading, and he came after me behind me, and he was also waving his arms and his hands and going, yay, and running. And we ran, like I ran all the way out into the hallway. He, came behind me in the hallway, ran past the living room, and he was there behind me past the living room, ran past the kitchen, into the kitchen. And then I turned around, and then I'm still with my arms in the air going, yay! And I'm yelling on yay! And then he was following me, the same thing, back out of the kitchen, past the little corridor and back into the dining room, living room, and then down a hallway, and then back into my room. And we continued doing that for about 7 minutes. So guys, it was almost 10 minutes that we were doing that, running back and forth, yelling, screaming, yay, with our arms in the air. And I could hear his deep man voice, yeah, doing the same thing as I was doing. And then finally, after the 7 or 10 minutes, we stopped in my room. And I sat back down again, and I said, thank you, angel. And he was standing in front of me, like he stood in front of me when I was sitting there. And he moved, he approached me, and he leaned, like he bent over. These guys are big, guys. The angels are big, okay? This angel was 12 feet tall. The first angels that I started seeing were only 8 feet. Then after that, I started seeing 9 feet. After that, I started seeing 10 feet. Then from 10, they jumped to 12 feet, which are the ones that I normally see now. And the angels that I've seen, the tallest angels that I've seen, one was 30 feet tall, and I saw him I think last year in 2018 or 2009. No, last year I saw a 30 feet tall angel last year in 2018. And then again last year I saw one, the tallest one was 50 feet. Okay, so, but there are taller angels than that. Tall. Guys, they just really, really big. So anyway, so this angel, he leaned to me, like towards, he bent down to me, and he put his arms around me, and he started hugging me, and I also felt his wings, because this angel had wings. Not all of them have wings, guys. Not all angels have wings. So this angel had wings, and when he put his arms around me, his wings embraced me as well. They enveloped me, and I could feel his feathers, very soft, okay, and it was very loving. They love us, guys. They hug us with love. The same kind of love that exists, that God is made up of, is the love that they have inside of them. Okay, when they touch you, you can feel God's love going through you. They're just made up of love. And so then after he finished hugging me, he stood back up again, and he looked at me, and I said, thank you. And he smiled, and he turned around, and he exited my room, and he left. So then I was talking to God. I said, oh, Father, thank you so much that you brought him. I'm so happy that I changed my mind about playing with him, because I felt so bad when the angel heard me tell you that I didn't want to play with him, and he started walking away, and I think he felt bad. But then I felt so bad. I felt so good, that I said, okay, I want to play with him, and he came back, and I just felt really good. So I'm like telling this to the Lord, right? I'm like, God, I'm so happy that I changed my mind about playing with the angel, because he really wanted to play. And the thing is, now I understand that you brought him because it cheered me up. I was feeling, again, like I don't remember why I was so down. Not down, but I was just really upset, guys. I was just really, really upset, and I don't remember why. But God sent that angel to cheer me up, right? That's why he told me he wants to play, but I didn't get it. I did not understand that he wanted to play. So yeah, that's how God cheers us up. He'll use angels, or he'll use a person, he'll use an animal, he'll use anything to cheer you up. Okay. And another time, when I was feeling really down, because I was going through a particular time when I was experiencing very intense attacks. I'm experiencing intense attacks all day, guys. For a very long time, I've been experiencing intense attacks, and it has to do with God's will. not that it's his will that I experience intense attacks. I'm talking about his plans for me. Because of his plans for me, the enemy is also, doing his part to try to derail me from God's will, from his plans for my life. He wants to discourage me, but that's not happening because I'm very strong. And I've become a lot stronger since I rededicated my life to the Lord 7 years ago. Anyway, we won't get into that. I'm just saying this one time I was experiencing more intense attacks than normal. And I went out into the living room and I was looking out because we have this really big, I guess what you can call a panoramic view of the city, right? Because we're on the 6th floor and it's really beautiful. So anyway, I was really upset and I was really exhausted, very drained. So I went out into the living room and I just stood in front of the window and I was just sitting there and I was just so exhausted. And all of a sudden I saw this angel appear in my room. And he came I saw him exiting my room and he walked down the hallway. And then he entered into the living room and he walked over to where I was at the window. And he stood next to me and he stood on my right and he put his left arm around me. And I could hear him say, "Don't worry, I'm here." Right? And I was still feeling very exhausted, but it was very nice that a person came, an angel, you know what I'm saying? Like when you feel support from somebody, that when you're feeling so exhausted, you have somebody will come along and give you support. They lift you up, right? So it was the same thing. This angel came and again, this one was 12 feet tall. He came and he stood next to me and he put his arm around me and he said, I heard him say, "Don't worry, I'm here." It was not verbal. I heard him like when it comes to angels, guys, sometimes they talk to you audibly, other times it will be like telepathic, okay? You can hear them, you can hear what they're saying, but they're directing the message to you. So yeah, I was just standing there and him and I were standing there and he was looking out the window and his head was tilted towards me. Like when somebody puts their arm around you and they're understanding what you're going through and they're kind of tilting their head towards you and they're like, "Yeah, I know what you're going through. Don't worry, I'm here. I understand." Like that. This is how the angel was. Yeah. So yeah, God, in the Bible he does say that the angels are ministering spirits, right? So that's what they do. And I've also had encounters with angels in human form. Okay, in human form, like one time I was going to Meals on Wheels and I was running a little bit late and I had just come from the bank. I was doing some business transactions and the bank at the time was right behind my house. So then I said, I'm always talking to God. Like wherever I am, I'm always talking to God. So as I left the bank, I said, "Father, I'm going to go back to the house, put these funds away, and then rush to catch the streetcar." And I heard God say, "No, you're going to go straight to Meals on Wheels. You have to go. You don't have time to go back into the house." And I said, "No, Father, I don't want to carry these funds with me. I just don't want to carry anything with me. I just want to put the money away in the house and then go." And he said, "No, just keep going. Don't go back into the house." And I was arguing with him back and forth until I reached the house. And when I reached the house, God said, "Nancy, I do not want you going back into the house. Keep going. Besides, you're going to be late if you go back into the house." And I said, "Okay, Father, I won't go back into the house." So I rushed to the top of the street where there was the main street to catch the streetcar. And by the way, if you guys I'm looking outside of the camera, and I'm looking towards the trees, which are way above, you can't see it. But if you guys have been seeing like these vehicles that are really long, those are streetcars. The red and white ones, those are streetcars. You guys call them trolleys. Well, they're called trolleys here too, but we call them streetcars more than trolleys. So anyway, that's the city transit, Toronto Transit Commission, or TTC. So I reached to the top of the street, got on the streetcar, and normally I walk to my next stop to catch the bus. But this time, because I was running a bit late, so then I took the streetcar. So the streetcar came, I got on, and I got off at my stop where the bus is, and so I was waiting in the shelter for my bus, right? I was heading, when I got on the streetcar the first time, I was heading west. When I got off at that stop, I was now going to be heading north. So I was waiting for my bus to take me north. Sorry guys if I take long to talk. That's just me. Anyway, so as soon as I got off the streetcar, I went into the bus shelter, and then suddenly that's a streetcar. They're 100 feet long. We have others that are shorter than that, but these ones are the latest ones, and they're 100 feet long. I've been on them, and they're cool. So anyway, what was I saying? Yes. So as soon as I got off the streetcar, I started walking. I started walking towards the bus shelter, and all of a sudden, this guy just appeared. I'm like, where did he come from? Because when I got off the streetcar, I didn't see any people. There were no people. The bus shelters are transparent. They are glass. So there were no people when I got off the streetcar, no people in the bus shelter, and no people coming towards the bus shelter. So, but when the moment I hit the sidewalk, suddenly appears this guy, right? So then, now, of course, I've kind of spoiled the story because it turned out to be an angel, but he walked up to me and he said, "Excuse, guys, by the way, it was winter, and this was around 4.5 years ago. So it was like really cold outside, and it was like maybe minus 20. But the wind, the wind is like maybe minus 27. So it's really cold. And this angel, this guy walked up to me and he said, "Excuse me, miss, but I was just wondering if you can help me. This is a very embarrassing situation, but I just got released from the penitentiary, and I have no money, I have no food, I have nothing, and I was just wondering if you can help me." And I was observing him the entire time that he was explaining this himself to me. He was only wearing like a burlap jacket. Okay, just a burlap jacket. Burlap is the same fabric that potatoes come in. For some people that don't understand what burlap is. Burlap, you spell B for ball, U for up, R for Robert, L for love, A for apple, P for Paul. Burlap, right? It's the same material, that same fabric that potatoes come in, that you buy them in the store like that, right? So he was wearing a jacket that was made of material similar to burlap, and his sleeves were rolled up. So in my mind, I'm thinking, aren't you cold? Isn't he cold? And he had tattoos wrapped all around his neck, tattoos that went all the way up his arms, I think on both arms. Oh, sorry guys, I just accidentally tapped the camera, so if you caught that, sorry about that, because I was moving my hand. So he wasn't wearing anything appropriate for the winter, and he didn't even look cold. He wasn't trembling, he wasn't shaking, he was just talking very casually, very calmly, just calmly. He was not in any rush. So I said, okay, so after he finished telling me the story, I'll tell you what he looks like. He was about 5'11", very, very slender, very, very thin, Caucasian, blonde hair, piercing blue eyes, very pale, and really, really thin. It's like, he looked like somebody, you could accuse him of being a criminal because of the way he looked, but he wasn't, right? Even if he was, I'm not going to judge somebody because they're a criminal. A human is a human, no matter what they're doing, okay? God loves everybody, and we have to treat them with that same love. Okay, so after this person finished telling me the story, his explanation, I said, okay, yes, I will help you, and I will help you in Jesus' name. And I said, please, let's go into the bus shelter, because it was so windy and I didn't want the money to fly away. So we walked into the bus shelter, and he continued. He said, "Oh, I just wanted to thank you so much." So I was going through my wallet and, finding the money. And then, he was continuing telling me about himself and how hard things are and things like that. So I said, oh, don't worry, you're going to be okay. So I just for the sake of letting you know, I took out a $20 bill. So I took out a $20 bill, and all of a sudden his eyes went, oh, wow, like that was his expression. He was like, oh, whoa, and his eyes, went open really wide. So then I gave him the money, and he said, thank you so much. And he put it away, and then he said, okay, I want you, he told me, I think he said, I want you to have a great day. Something like that. He said something to me as we were finishing up our conversation. And then he had to go, right? And I said, thank you so much for stopping by and chatting with me. I think I said that. So then he said, you're welcome. So then he started to exit the bus shelter. And as I just kept watching him. And when he got about 10 feet away, I said, Jesus loves you. And he turned around and gave me a big smile, a big, big smile. And then he said something, but I couldn't make it out. And then he turned around and he kept going. And I just kept watching him until he disappeared in the far distance, right? So then later on, I realized that was an angel, right? So then I was asking God for the longest time. I said, Father, was that an angel? Was that an angel, right? Because this happened like 4.5 years ago. And about, I think a year ago, when I was asking God, was that an angel? And God said, yes, that was an angel. And so then, oh, and by the way, this angel told me that his name was Ryan, because when he first approached me and he was asking me, if I could help him, at some point I asked him, what is his name? And he says, my name is Ryan. And I told him, and then when we got into the shelter, I told him, my name is Nancy, right? So that's really cool, guys. So that's the first time I encountered an angel in human form. And no, that's not the first time. What am I talking about? That's one of the times. So because, guys, we're always encountering angels in human form, only we don't know. Because God does say in the Bible, we've encountered angels and we've not been aware of it, right? So who knows how many other times we have come across an angel, a person, but they're really an angel. Right? Just pay attention to what has happened to you, to things that are impossible. Okay? Those were probably angelic events, right? So another time, this was, maybe 15 years ago, or no, maybe around 13 years ago. I was at this mall, and I walked into... I was at a mall, and I was in a big department store inside the mall, and I was buying some things, and I had the bag with me, and I had walked into the department store, and I bought a few things, and when I left, I was just walking around, wondering what store I'm gonna go into next, and the bag that I had did not have that many things in it. I remember they were stationery. Like rulers and pencils, and I had things like for office things, right? So then I was just walking around, and it was a very, very peaceful, quiet day, not many people there. And then suddenly this guy walks up to me, and he has a bag in his hand, a plastic bag in his hand, and he said, here, I think you're gonna need this. And I said, oh. So I just extended my hand, and I grabbed the bag, and I looked down at my bag, and I realized that my bag had a big hole in it. And the ruler was sticking out of that hole, right? So, and when I looked up to say thank you again, he disappeared. And at the time I didn't know it was an angel, but later on I figured out it was an angel, because in the area where I was, there was not enough time for him to have just disappeared the way he did. And I'll tell you why. You see, I was at that point in an area of the mall where I was exiting, and I was in a corridor where there were many, many, many stores. And okay, so the corridor was around 75 feet long and 45 feet wide. Maybe 45 to 50 feet wide. It was a very big mall, like in the area where I was. And there were no people around. Do you understand what the word sparse means? S for Sam, P for Paul, A for Apple, R for Robert, C for cantaloupe or cat. Am I spelling it right? Sparse. Sparse or Sparce. Okay, sparse, something like that. So sparse means barely anything. Barely anything. So there were, if there were any people, there were like maybe like one person on the opposite end to where I was. And I was completely alone. Practically alone, because it was that sparse. There was practically nobody there. If there was anybody, they were all the way on the other side of the mall. So for this person that just walks up to me, just suddenly walks up to me, and he says, "You're going to need this." I look down just for a few seconds, and I realize that my bag has a hole. Then I look back up again to say thank you, and he disappears. That was an angel. There's no way that he could have walked away or run away fast enough out of my view where I was for that. You understand what I'm saying? He could not have he could not have walked away, removed himself from my view fast enough based on how far away the exits were. So that was an angel. So I was wondering to myself, why would God send me an angel? What happened? Like, what? I mean, I understood that my bag had a hole in it, but there has to be more. That was what was in my heart. And then when I got home that day, I started to go over my day and what had happened up until the point when I saw that angel. And then I remembered when I first got there and I went into the store where I bought the office supplies. When I was at the store, when I was at the line waiting to pay for the things, there was a lady she was being served by another cashier, and she did not see, she had all these really big items. She had these large packages of either toilet paper or paper towels. Maybe they were toilet papers. And the bags that the store was giving her were not big enough to fit. I mean, they fit the toilet paper packages. They were so big, but the handles were too short to meet so that she can carry them home. So then I remembered what my mother taught me. She taught me that when you're at the store and you have those kinds of, when you find yourself in that situation where the bags, your items are so big that the handles don't close, just grab another bag or however many bags you need and tie them up and make a handle. Make one long handle and then tie one side to one handle and tie another side of the handle of the bags to the other side, and you have a handle. So then when I was finished paying for my things, I walked over to the lady. She couldn't speak English. She was Chinese. And I asked the cashier, please hand me a few bags. So she gave me a few bags, and then really quickly I made handles for both of her, because she had two big bags with her. I made handles for her, and she was saying thank you very much, and I said, oh, you're welcome. And I felt so bad because she was like a retired person, right? And you feel bad when they don't have something to help them. So anyway, she walked away with it was really cool to see her, because you're just happy whenever you see that you help somebody, right? So then she walked away and she was okay, and then I remembered, so I was going through all this in my head when I got home, and I said, oh, Father, that's why I had favor. You see, the lady, she didn't know how she was going to bring her things home. You placed me at the right time to help her. And then when I needed help to keep me, in my situation, I could have lost a few things on my way home because I was going to walk home. I could have lost a few things because there was a big hole in my bag. And the ruler was the only thing sticking out. And it could have gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and I could have lost who knows how many things I could have lost. And by the time I got home, I would have been missing a lot of things. So I said, Lord, that's why you sent me that angel to give me favor, so that I wouldn't lose my things, because you placed me in a situation where I could help another person. So yeah, so that's just really cool, guys. Anyway,